The holidays are all about sharing with family. Meals, couches, stories, Grandma's secret pecan pie recipe. And now you can also share a cart with Instacart Family Carts. Everyone can add what they want to one group cart from wherever they are. So you don't have to go from room to room to find out who wants cranberry sauce, or whether you should get mini marshmallows for the yams, or collecting votes for sugar cookies versus shortbread. Just share a cart, and then share the meals and the moments. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy free delivery on your first 3 orders. Service fees and terms apply.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a Food Podcast, the place you can come to hear all about the great things happening on the local food scene, the wonderful restaurants we have, the great local companies making delicious food products, the fun community events that highlight local cuisine. Joining me now is Chef Sazine Curie, the owner and executive chef of a brand new restaurant in Providence, Brasa and Chifa. Thanks for being here.
My absolute pleasure, Mario. Thank you so much.
So this is the sister restaurant to Los Andes, for those who are familiar with that. Tell us about the opening of this new restaurant and how it came about.
Sure. The concept, I always loved Boston Market. And since I was a little kid, I used to love going in there, watching the chickens in the rotisseries, choosing my sides. And then Los Andes came about, and I wanted to do a restaurant that was fast-paced, but still felt like you were in a restaurant. And that's where Brasa y Chifa came about. We got all the best equipment that you can get, the vertical rotisseries, the jade walks, and so on and so forth. And again, the most important part about this project was making fast food fun, where you can go in and still enjoy a cocktail and be comfortable or be dressed up or whatever the case may be. Just feel comfortable in this type of environment.
Yeah. So you can come in, you can do either dine in or takeout, right?
Absolutely. So again, it's a fast food place with a full liquor license. So you can sit there, enjoy a margarita, cold beer, a sangria, or again, some of the traditional Peruvian beverages that we offer. But it's just meant to be fun. Again, from the folks that are working online, our job, honestly, our true job is to make sure you're happy. If you're coming in and you're frowning, we want to make sure you walk out of there with the biggest smile. And that's something that you generate through positive energy. So if you're walking in through that door, our job is to make sure that we engage with you with a smile, making you feel welcome. And to me, that's the most important thing in any business. Doesn't matter if you're selling tires or you're selling ribeyes or you're selling fast food. It's about making people feel comfortable and welcome, and their mindset changes, and their mood changes, and they just become a different person before they know, and they're walking out. They just had a great experience eating awesome food that it tastes like your mother made it. That's the way Brasa y Chifa is. It's not like this gourmet, like Michelin star chef. It's just really good home-cooked food.
Yeah, but it's like takeout, but it's kicked up a million notches, I feel. It's so
100%. I mean, it looks really good. It looks like like your mom definitely went to Johnston and Wales, you know what I'm saying? Okay. But that's the whole vibe. It's and so far we've been very grateful in terms of the comments, from the community. A lot of the people are beyond happy, the flavors. And again, I've seen folks come in 3 times a day for like 4 days consecutively, and they're still coming in, and the pricing is amazing. I mean, you can get a quarter chicken with 3 hot sides, 1 cold side for $11.
That's amazing.
It's beyond amazing. You're getting this massive box. It almost weighs like 2 pounds. I'm not gonna lie to you. And you can fill this thing up with yuca, plantains, Peruvian lo mein, chaufa rice, beans, and the list goes on. We wanted to make sure you're getting good food, healthy food, nothing that's processed, and again, for $11. And then the quarter chicken goes from a half to a full. We have the picanhas. We're implementing the bronzino. We had this young lady that came in. She goes, I'm on a pescatarian. And in my mind, she says, you know what? We need a whole fish on a charcoal rodizio. And that's what we're implementing now.
Yeah, you mentioned the picanha. What is that? That's the steak?
Sure. The picanha is actually a really popular cut of steak down in South America. So the picanha is going to be a steak that's pretty much the end of the sirloin. So there's a little fat cap on top. And we put our 22-inch skewers right through the middle, and they go over the charcoal. So as they're rotating, that fat cap starts melting, and that fat cap starts coating that meat over and over again, over an open flame over the charcoal. And eventually those bits of fat drop into the flame that create a bigger flame, smoke, and the exterior of the steak gets charred, the interior becomes nice and moist. The marbling that we have on this cut of meat is amazing. It's tender, it's juicy, it's smoky, and it's amazing.
Now you brought some in, so I definitely got to try this. And you served it with what?
We serve it with chimichurri. Our chimichurri is really great. I mean, it's a medley of 2 herbs. We have a little bit of, I would say 90% parsley, 10% cilantro, extra virgin olive oil, garlic, dry rosemary, dry thyme. But the star of the show, our chimichurri is great, is the ají de polleria. Like, ají de polleria is the ultimate dipping sauce. You can dip yuca in it. You can put it over your rice. You can put it over your picanha, and that's what I do at the restaurant. Every single day, I was just telling you a little while ago, I was like, this is what I eat. I eat picanha, the Peruvian beans, a little bit of the lo mein, the vegetables, and I drench it in the ají de polleria. It's magical. It has a hint of spice. It's creamy. It's garlicky. And the star of the show on this specific recipe is called huacatay. Huacatay is Peruvian black mint. So it's a cross between like basil, cilantro, just like combined together. So it's potent in its fragrance. So we use it in a good amount that doesn't overpower the other components. There's a little touch of vinegar in there as well. It makes it acidic, so it complements steak. And like I said, it's you really just have to try it. Like I'm telling you, guests just come back and they'll order another like 8 ounces of that sauce to go.
Just for you can take the sauce to go?
You can take the sauce to go. And speaking of something else that I didn't even mention today, if you have a sweet tooth, churros de dulce de leche. These are absolutely like addicting. Since we launched Brasa, I gained 22 pounds, and the churros. I mean, if you eat one, a regular order, every other day, you're fine. But in the testing periods, I went through about 18 of those suckers in a day.
Oh my God!
I mean, being professional here, making sure the consistency of the dough was perfect and whatever else may be.
Of course.
But they're fried. Visualize like a Mexican donut. That's what a churro is, pretty much. These are hollowed out, and they're filled with dulce de leche, which is condensed milk. Like it's cooked for about 4 hours. It caramelizes, becomes extra sweeter. It becomes more creamy. And then we roll it in a mixture of sugar and cinnamon, and you dip it in more dulce de leche. So you have this warm, cold, crunchy, soft interior. It tantalizes your palate. It confuses your brain. You're like, what is going on right now?
Right, yeah. That sounds amazing.
It's so bomb. It's so really good. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you can go right across the street at La Salle Bakery, get yourself a little coffee, see our boys at La Salle Bakery. Nice. Our new neighbors, they're awesome. We stop there and get our coffees the entire cruise. So the idea is we want to bring Admiral Street to life. We want to bring those folks in there and again, just showcase our culture, express the Chifa cuisine, which not a lot of people are familiar with. And again, making rotisserie chicken great again.
That's awesome. Yeah, what does Chifa mean?
So Chifa is something that started in the late 1800s. The Peruvian president made a deal with the Chinese president to allow Chinese workers to come in. So they brought in hundreds and thousands of Chinese workers to fix a railroad or to build a railroad. So what they ended up doing is in a period of 10 to 15 years that it took to build this railroad that went across South America, the Chinese immigrants will bring soy sauce, ginger, scallions, introducing them to all these new cool ingredients and spices, methods of cooking, and that's where the cuisine Chifa was born. So if you go to Peru, there's no such thing as a Chinese restaurant. You go to a chiferia, or you're having Chifa for dinner. And that's, again, the marriage of Cantonese, Chinese, with Peruvian culture. So that's where it really comes about, and that's why it's unique. That's why we have Peruvian lo mein or the chaufa rice. Chaufa rice is pretty much a stir-fried rice. So again, the use of soy sauce and ginger is well common. That's in our rice, in our Peruvian lo mein. And again, visualize a cool lo mein that just has a South American flair into it. So again, it's fun, it's interesting, it's unique. And my favorite thing about is the evolution of food. Everything evolves through something. And that's what the true fusions of food come from that. You know what I mean? And it makes it fun, interesting. You're like, why? How is there ginger from China over here in South America in the late 1800s?
Yeah, but it's great, the fusion, like you said, and the evolution of it.
Audible's best of 2024 picks are here. Discover the year's top audiobooks, podcasts, and originals in all your favorite genres. From memoirs and sci-fi to mysteries and thrillers, Audible's curated list in every category is the best way to hear 2024's best in audio entertainment. Like a stunning new full-cast production of George Orwell's 1984, heartfelt memoirs like Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's Lovely One, the year's best fiction like The Women by Kristen Hanna, and Percival Everett's brilliantly subversive James. Audible. There's more to imagine when you listen. Go to audible.com/imagine and discover all the year's best waiting for you.
Bombas presents unsolicited gifting advice. Number 1, if they say not to get them anything, get them something. 2, underwear is a great gift, just not for your boss. And 3, those absurdly soft Bombas socks and slippers you've been eyeing for yourself, they'll love those. And the fact that for every item you purchase, another is donated to someone who needs it, they'll love that even more.
Go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/Wondery, code WONDERY.
I got to try this with the, what's the name of the sauce again?
Ají de pollería. We just call it Brasa cream sauce.
All right, I'm going to call it the Brasa cream sauce. That is so good. What's the base for, like a oil? Is it? What's the base?
So we start off with a little bit of milk. There's actually a little bit of mustard, and there's a little bit of oil to emulsify it. So that's the whole idea of the sauce, is just for, like, I don't know if you noticed when you stuck your steak in there, just kind of like clung on there.
Yes.
And it gives it this unique texture. And again, when you mix that with your rice, your lo mein, with anything, it really just makes it pop. It complements all those Peruvian spices that are in our rub. They're talking about 28 ingredients that go into our chicken rub. So again, it all makes sense. In the way that we treat those chickens, when they come into the restaurant, they're hand selected. We got to remove or detach the skin from the actual flesh of the bird and really put the marinade all the way through.
All the way through.
All the way through. And then with your thumb, what you do is you penetrate that top part of that breast, allowing that marinade to go into the chicken breast. They sit like that for 24 hours. And what makes us different is that we actually put our birds in a 20-minute sous vide. So it's almost like a sous vide where it's like 90% steam, 10% dry heat. What happens, since they're hanging vertically, we don't detach the bottom part of the chicken. We don't let that part loose. So what happens is the chicken is cooking in that feature with 90% steam. Everything's coming in, all the flavor of the seasoning, the chicken, the fat that's dissolving, it gets stuck within. And then when you stick it into the rotisserie, there's actually high intensity heat between the charcoal and our infrared heating elements. It chars it, and you can actually see all the liquid inside is brought almost to a boil. So again, that chicken breast is staying beyond moist. The leg quarters, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, when it first comes off that oven and you're cutting it, I seen it squirt.
You've seen it squirt, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Oh.
And like right now, I'm salivating, even though I've been seeing
too.
this. I'm like, oh my
Just
God!
talking about it
It's
makes
like
me
you're looking at this
salivate.
chicken. It's like,
I
boom,
know.
and you're like, holy smokes!
Yeah. And you can use this with the Brasa sauce.
Correct.
too,
So
right?
the ají de pollería traditionally is made for the chicken, but to me, it goes on anything.
Anything. I'm going to try the chicken. Oh, great flavor. Perfectly cooked. Oh my gosh. And these sides, I mean, this looks like lo mein, pretty much that you could get at any Chinese restaurant.
Correct. It's pretty much that's the actual noodle. But again, for example, Kikkoman soy sauce. For example, everybody knows Kikkoman. Well, a lot of people know Kikkoman soy sauce. Kikkoman actually has a plant in Peru that they make a special Peruvian soy sauce.
That's awesome.
So that's the first step. So like the different fermentation or different stages they do to make the Peruvian soy sauce. It has a little more color. It's richer, and again, it's the implementation of the traditional Chinese, but implementing a little bit of that Peruvian ají pepper that's pureed into that gives it that natural sweetness. The ají amarillo, for example, we blanch, devein, deseed, bring to a boil, puree to remove the intensity of the heat. But it's that is incorporated one way or another to those recipes, which makes it unique.
Yeah, I'm going to try this. That's really good too. I think people think it's going to be just like the Chinese food that they're used to. It's not going to be, because you've got that
Correct.
little kick to it, that little,
Correct. Well, I mean, right now, to be completely honest with you, Mario, we opened with only a total of 5 menu items. And don't get me wrong, within those 5 menu items, you can cross and match or whatever the case may be, and come up with like 15 entrees. We also have our chaufas, and in reality, it's about 10 entrees in total. We're launching, for example, talking about chifa, the chihaukai and the tipakai, right? When we were putting the menu boards, like the team was saying, hey, we're gonna just name it fried chicken with this sauce. I was like, no, you have to name it chihaukai.
Right.
And again, that's a traditional Chinese Peruvian recipe that, I mean, it's pretty much kind of like a Peruvian General Tso's chicken.
Okay.
And like the whole thing is you use chuño flour. Chuño, for example, is a dehydrated potato from the Andes. The oldest method known of preservation is chuño in the Andes Mountains. So they harvest a potato, they bring it to the mountains, they let it freeze dry, they then reharvest it, then they let it sun dry, and then they make it into a flour form. Long story short, that's the flour we use to coat our chickens.
Wow.
The chicken marinates with soy sauce, ginger, and again, then the intensity, the flavors really pick up. Long story short, coat it with the flour. We add a little bit of oatmeal, and then we finish it off with a soy. It's almost like a soy sauce glazed with ginger. It's potent, it's flavorful. Then the other one is a sweet sauce, like I was mentioning, almost like the General Tso's chicken.
Yeah.
Peaches, cranberries. They're diced into the sauce. They have more of a natural, not that high sugar content that you would see in a General Tso's chicken.
Yeah.
So we're utilizing different components and stocks to bring some sweetness into those sauces. They're not extremely overwhelming. You can actually taste the chicken and not have like a quarter of inch of batter. It's chicken with a great sauce.
That's awesome. And you have some great looking ribs here. How
Yes.
do you do those?
So our Peruvian ribs, there's going to be a little soy sauce, some garlic, guacatay. And again, we use this new oven. It's called the Rational or the Convi oven. So what we do with these ribs is the same thing. There's a smoke box in our Rational that we put a little bit of charcoal, which gives a smoky flavor to those ribs. They get cooked, and again, in a high steam, low dry heat feature. It's almost pretty much like braising them. So they get braised to a point that once they go into our rotisserie ovens, all we're doing is sealing the exterior to a very soft product inside. They fall right off the bone, literally. And again, all we're doing is letting that charcoal attach itself to the exterior of that meat, and the intensity of the heat give the exterior a little bit of a crunch. So when you get those brasa, for example, we'll cut them to order for you, and then we save that braising au jus. Just pretty much a top layer that has all the, again, a little bit of that fat and all those herbs that have been cooked through, and we brush it on right before we give it to you. So again, you're just getting this soft rib that falls apart, and again, you dip it in any of our sauces, and it's amazing. It's really, really good.
Try that next. Oh my God, so tender. Well, right off the bone. Perfect flavor too. You were saying when you come in too, it's kind of like everything's made to order. So you can order something and you kind of see it being made
100%.
and sliced up right in front of you, right?
Well, one of the things that I learned at working at Los Andes, I've been the chef there for 17 years. And for example, on a Saturday in Los Andes, we feed almost 1,000 guests. So the velocity or the techniques that we developed in those 17 years, that's what kind of like, I was like, we can pick up a chaufa in 1.2 minutes. And that's how we do it at Los Andes. We preheat our pans, we have our techniques and that we developed. So again, you walk into this place, you order a chaufa, it's ready in under a minute, a little bit over a minute, excuse me. Our brasas are loaded with picanhas. We have well-dones, medium wells, medium rares, and we're kind of just going with the flow.
Yeah.
And same thing with our ribs. They come off as sous vide, they're ready to go into the to the charcoal rodizos, and same thing. There's always a constant rotation. There's the flames that are going behind the butcher station. The butcher station is fun because again, you're sitting there, and that's my favorite part. That's where I work because I communicate with the folks, and it's kind of like that old school mentality. My father had a market, so when we're cutting those ribs, for example, our ribs go to like 14 to 16 depending on the animal. Well, they're all the same, but depending on how they get butchered towards us. So I always have like 2 or 3 pieces that are extra, and I love to give them away. There was a sweet old little lady that came over the other day, and she was like, "Oh, and I'll take the half rack." And I was like, "Man, I got you with 2 extra pieces. You chop them up, you give them a little extra love, an extra piece of plantain, a little container of sauce. You make somebody's day." The most important thing to me is being happy, and you're truly going to be happy when you eat the product. But prior to even putting anything in your mouth, we want to put a smile. And you don't understand how important that is to me. Like when you come in, you're changing somebody's day. When they get back in their car, they're going to be like, "Wow, it's like we just went there. Everybody was energetic. There was fires going along. There was a crazy guy with a meat cleaver cutting steaks, giving me extra meat. And you sip a margarita or whatever you have, and then you go in your car and there's so much food left over that you actually have dinner. So your day is already better knowing that you don't even have to make dinner when you went already for lunch. You know what I mean? So it's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, and remind folks where you're located now and how they can find you.
Sure. So we are at 712 Admiral Street in Providence, right across from LaSalle Bakery. Our Instagram page is always updated. Again, talking about the products that you're tasting today, this actual menu item won't be ready till next week. So, but again, please check into our website and our Instagram page. Shoot us a message. And again, we just started doing Grubhub, online ordering, because the lines were, pretty much stretched around the building. A lot of folks didn't want to be waiting. So again, the online order, even if you're waiting in line, my brother Omar, if you guys know Omar is the most hospitable human being in this universe. If you order online, if you're outside waiting, you put your name on the request, just have your ID ready. And while you're waiting, Omar's going to bring you a margarita or a sangria.
Nice.
So you get out of work on a Friday, right? And you're like, I don't feel like going out and sitting down. I just want to get my food, sip a margarita, and then experience everything that we just talked about when you're behind the butcher block and our team is going to, do what it's got to do. And you're sipping a passion fruit margarita with a tahini rim. Oh, baby Jesus.
That's a great way.
You know what I mean?
Great way to experience
For
it.
sure.
All right, Chef Sazine, thank you so much. Definitely check out Brasa at Chifa, Admiral Street in Providence. I'll make you go. Mmm.